This episode is sponsored by Shutterstock.com. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER6. This episode is also brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/Gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to GuildCast 76 for June 26, 2013. You're watching Gamebreaker. I am John Oliver. That's right. I'm taking over for a week. Not as long as John Oliver is, but I am Mike Schaffnitz. I'm covering for Gary Gannon, who's out of town all week long, so if you don't like me, well, too bad you're stuck with me. Tonight, I'm a little excited because we've got some Sky Pirates to talk about, a ridiculous amount of class changes, and some breaking stuff on the esports side of things, all that and more, plus your viewer questions. But first, Richie, it's been a while. You got a place dear in my heart. I remember the first time that we were on GuildCast together. Your first GuildCast. That's right. You guys know him. You love him. Mr. Richard Picopio.
Memories.
Oh,
yes,
the memories.
It's been a long time. The last time we actually did a show together was the pre-show celebration for GuildCast launching. The night GuildCast Guild Wars 2 launched was the last time we actually did a show together. That's been a while.
That has been a very long time. I didn't even realize that. And at least a new face for me, but not for you guys. The one, the only, Mr. Matt Visual.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Man, how are you? Oh, well, I guess I should probably be saying thanks for having me is probably the more proper statement in this point. And also joining us, fresh in from last week, you guys loved him, so we brought him back. Josh Davis, a.k.a. Grouch.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, thanks for coming back. We always appreciate wonderful insight and can always use that on the PvP side of things. So
I have loads of that stuff.
It's great. It's great.
All
so if you got loads of it, let's just get right to it and jump right into it then. Guys, I don't know if you know. It's exciting. Sky Pirates have landed in Tyria. Just so you know, Sky Pirates, they're here. I can live out all of my airship dreams every time that I've ever played Final Fantasy IV and be like, oh my gosh, there's a flying pirate ship. I can now live it out in Guild Wars. There's got to be no combination of words that's cooler than Sky Pirates. So what's going on? What's the deal? What's the story? How is Guild Wars going to be integrating Sky Pirates?
They are the Aether Blades are a new faction, a new enemy faction that's been brought in for this kind of update, and they are led by a nefarious individual. I don't know how much spoilers people want or whatnot, but they are basically trying to wreak havoc in Lion's Arch and throughout Tyria. So while some of the aspects of this patch are kind of temporary, the Sky Pirate faction and stuff is going to be integrated into the world as a permanent kind of evil thing. And they seem to have teamed up with the Inquest, the Asuran Inquest. So they have, not only are they, have these airships, they also have Asura technology behind them. So they definitely make for an interesting foe.
So, as you said, we're kind of getting some new stuff coming in here based around the story here. We're getting a new story dungeon, the Aetherblade Retreat. Now, for any of you that don't know, that's going to be the Sky Pirates home base. Have you guys run Aetherblade Retreat at all yet at this point?
Yeah, I've ran it a couple times. The first one was, it was terrible. When it first launched, it had a few bugs. People would leave, and you wouldn't be able to get back in and stuff like that. But they fixed all that, and it's actually pretty fun. They have like some really cool mid-boss mechanics where these cannons will sweep around this room that's like a dome, a circle, and it'll just kind of sweep around the room, and it gets harder and harder, and you have to like defeat the golems in order to make it stop. And I'm not gonna say what happens at the end or what happens to the boss, but yeah, it's pretty funny. But it's a pretty fun gun.
Well, I know. I mean, I can tell by the smile on your face. You look like you really enjoyed your time in there.
Yeah. It was stressful. The first time and trying to get used to it, and then, you kind of enjoyed the mechanics. It's kind of like I apply this dungeon to what happened with the Molten weapon facility, where it was really a really good dungeon overall. But for me, personally, there was a certain part where after the midway boss, it got really boring and it got really long with freeing the slaves. And then, of course, the last boss fight was like epic. In this one, it's kind of like straight to the point. None of that drawn out, free the slaves type of gameplay. So you go straight in, you kill a couple guys, you do the boss fights, which are pretty cool, and you get your treasure at the end.
How long was it? I mean, I know that's got to be a big hot button for how much time investment, especially when you're and granted, factor in obviously the fact it took you some time to figure out the mechanics, so that's gonna change over time as people get what's going on. How long would you say an average run of this new dungeon is going to be?
It all depends on how many people the people that you have. If they really suck at kiting and dodging, then you're going to be in there for a very long time. My first run went in there for like 2 to 3 hours. My second run with Bogotter, we ran together, and that's the first time I actually beat it because we got one guy that quit. Well, how long did it take us, Richie?
A little over an hour, I think. But, once you learn it, you could probably run it in 30 minutes, I think, with practice. Yeah, I think that's one of the good things about this. In the Molten Weapon Facility, we saw this as well, is we're finally getting some encounters that you are difficult the first time you go through it before you learn the mechanics, and then as you kind of come together as a group and tweak your strategy a little bit, it gets much easier and repeatable and beatable. So it's fun to actually have content like that. Like Matt and I were wiping last night on one of the bosses a bunch of times, but I didn't get frustrated by that. I was like, cool, finally, something to actually, we have to think about and start over and refine our strategy on. That's definitely, we need more things like that. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Now, difficulty-wise, you guys are saying that obviously it's going to go down over time. So with that in mind, are there any other mode options that can increase the difficulty once you get used to it?
No, there's only one. There's only one mode. There's only they don't even separate it. What is it? Is it story mode? I think
story mode.
There's not an explorable mode version of it. So there's only one difficulty level. It's temporary content too, so it's going away. Like I think it's like July 9th or something like that. I think they're taking this dungeon away. So yeah, so there's not a lot of time to actually learn it.
Well, and I guess that makes a little bit of sense. It'd be one thing if it was going to be permanent content. You'd want to offer the option as many of the other dungeons give out. But the fact that this is something that's eventually going away, maybe you just want it to you want to get as many people in there to see it and clear it. So I guess they might necessarily be a little bit more okay with people learning the mechanics and help guide other people or even carry people through the dungeon so that they can see this temporary content.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it from even a World of Warcraft standpoint, right? You have heroic raids, which are just so difficult, for some groups and stuff like that. But even after practicing it week after week, then the encounters become trivial. The first time you beat a boss, it's very, very hard. But as you've beaten them like 8 or 9 times, then it's kind of something you do on autopilot, and that's just the natural progression of you learning an encounter. So that's what we're seeing here to a degree, and then it's something that we really you didn't see much before in the original dungeons. Some of them were it was rare that you would actually wipe on an encounter even the first time you would see it, and I'm glad to see that that's not the case with these newer boss fights.
Now, I think most importantly, as every MMO fan will tell you, the most important thing about dungeons is the loot. So are we looking at any kind of loot that we're going to get out of this, or is this something that's strictly for the story?
All right, so for completing the dungeon, you get a chance to get a utility buff recipes, metal scraps, right? There's these gold metal scraps that actually you get some really good loot for salvaging them. I actually got a charged lodestone for salvaging them. So there's that. And those drop on the enemies as well on the way. You I guess you could get them from the chest.
I got
but you can get
ore. I got mithril ore from mine.
I got one mithril ore as well, but I also got charged low. So on the second time I salvaged it, I was like, yes. You also get a tonic that you can change it to Horic. There, and it's not unlimited. So
there's a recipe that you can get for the unlimited one version of it.
Gotcha. There's also a chance to get 100 dragon coffers, which is pretty crazy. That's like that's a gold right there, if you're selling them. And of course you get a chance to get the monocle. It's a rare chance. So yeah, it's one of those rare items, like in the Molten dungeon.
Are you guys okay with these items in a temporary dungeon? And maybe that way it's kind of keeping from being anything that people feel like they missed out on because they didn't get a chance to necessarily run it, or did you guys want to see more from this dungeon?
I think they could use to beef up these rewards a bit. And I think they're going to go through with a plan to eventually have dungeons like this hit the fractals of the mist, so this content won't be permanently unavailable. It'll actually go into the rotation of the fractals. They're not ready to implement that yet. We should be hearing more in July about what their plan is for that. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of the cooler items that Matt was just talking about, those are rare chances from the final boss chest, right? And you can run it 10 times in between now and July 9th and not see any of them. And really, a combat monocle is the biggest thing that you can really get. So I don't think it is as much of a reward for me personally, as much of an experience. I'll run it a couple times just to soak in the flavor and the story of it, but the rewards aren't really enticing me to really go for anything in there.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Richie, because I don't know, monocle I don't really care about that. I just went in there for mostly the achievements and tried to get some of those hard achievements that they had in there. Oh man, I can't do some of those hard achievements, but I'm glad they have them in there. But I'm straight. I got my 12 achievements and I got my little mini Horic.
Now, wasn't Guild Wars supposed to be moving towards a little bit of more permanent content? Are you guys okay with them implementing something that's only around temporary? I mean, I know, Richie, you said it's probably going to end up in the rotation, that it's going to keep coming back around. Yeah. But are you guys okay with this? A lot of people were expecting permanent content.
Well, they've recently come out, a lot of the devs have been saying that they are moving more and more towards adding more permanent things. It just takes a little bit while once they come to that decision to develop that, right? So I would expect that the latter half of the year, the updates that we're getting, you'll see more and more of a percentage of the content remaining special. But with the things that are story based, they're still going to hold true to some things being temporary, because while some games are okay with, all right, you know what, we're going to put a boss out there and this is the boss that you're going after, but once the story moves on, like, think about it in World of Warcraft, right? Even though you beat the Lich King and all that stuff, then the Cataclysm happens after that. You can still go back and beat the Lich King, and things remain in there for years, and they don't necessarily, you have to suspend your disbelief about why those things are still there. And Guild Wars 2 is taking a different approach with that, which is catching some in the community like, what do you mean that stuff's going away? I want to be able to run that forever. So, I don't know. They're going to do both. I think more permanent content is a good thing. They just need some time to catch up on the development side to make that happen.
And I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're leading up to something. I really because I know they hear us. They're like, oh, permanent content, please. I know they hear us, and they did do this big patch with the skill and traits, right? Which is, of course, permanent. So, I mean, I think maybe next patch we might see some juicy tidbits. I'm thinking. That's my prediction. Hopefully.
Well, and it's not like we aren't seeing any sort of permanent content coming in this patch, thankfully. So they're actually going to be adding some kind of scavenger hunts that's retracing the steps of the founder of Lionarch, correct?
Yes. So the third Guild Wars 2 novel released this Tuesday, called The Sea of Sorrows. And that novel tells the story of Kobaya Mariner, who is basically a sailor, one of the founders of Lion's Arch. And his grandson is actually the current Commodore of Lion's Arch. So they put a tie-in into the game to kind of go with the release of the novel. So you can go around Lion's Arch and different parts of the world and collect these 12 Mariners plaques, read off. By the way, if you haven't read the CSRs and you want to, reading the plaques in-game spoils parts of the book. So that's just a warning for you, because I'm reading the book, I'm like a quarter of the way through, and I was reading some of these plaques, I'm like, no! I didn't want to know that.
Why did I go around clicking signs in the game? Spoiler, they need this little like asterisk at the top of every sign.
They do.
Spoilers, don't read below.
It was like certain characters like dying and stuff, so it's like, no. But anyway, so yeah, that's a tie-in to the novel, and for doing that, what do you get for that? You get you get the CSRO's in-game book, which you can click on to get 5 skill points. I have so many skill points, I don't know what I'm doing with them, but apparently I need more skill points. So,
you get a skill point. You get a skill point. You get a skill point. All right. Anyway, that joke fell on its face. I know, right?
Sorry, man. Don't worry.
I try and keep the silly up while Gary's out. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. All right, so they're also now adding a new permanent jumping puzzle, which is an airship that's hidden inside a holographic mountain. So, where can I just join the Sky Pirates already, please? Like, just sign me up. What's it gonna take? Because I want to be in. Have you guys checked out this jumping puzzle yet? Is it everything that kind of lives up to the pre-established quality of jumping puzzles?
Sadly, it's not out yet. Sadly, it's in July 1st. Yeah, but I think Bug Otter got a taste of it. No?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
One of those answers. We see what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah, no, I was able to check it out, but all the information is under embargo until it actually comes out, so I can't really talk about that.
So much for that, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Can't say we didn't try, and thanks for putting Richie on the spot.
We're just gonna edit this out later. Don't worry.
Oh, he sent me an angry text message.
Removing him from Steam.
Can't know what games I'm playing because he'll call me out on them.
Yeah. Like, what are you playing Hello Kitty Online for?
Vanished.
Now, this is kind of completely out there, but do you guys think that we're ever going to maybe get guild airships? We see a lot of people wanting guild housing. I would love to own me a guild airship. Any chance?
That would be awesome. I would be ridiculous.
Right?
I don't know how it would fit. No, the thing is, like, because everything is maps. So I don't know how.
Just teleport me like 800 feet in the air to an airship where I can make it my guild hall, and like I feel like I'm flying high above the clouds. I don't care. Just give me an airship.
Isn't that called WildStar?
Oh no. Oh gosh. But World v World. What about World v World airships? Make it happen.
This sounds terrible.
Like,
let's put that out there. It sounds terrible.
I don't want to shout cast like
siege weapons.
We don't shoutcast World v World though. So.
Oh, okay.
Come on, man. You gotta play the game. You're blowing your cover here.
I know, right? All right, so on top of that, we've got some Aetherblade armor that's going on sale in the gem store. So our producer is actually telling me that this is a really big deal. They're not like town clothes, are they?
No. No, it's a big deal because they haven't put any combat armor in the game for direct purchase in the gem store since the launch of the game. So for someone that comes from Guild Wars 1, they put out a new armor set, very frequently that for players to buy new costumes and different things for the characters, and everything that has come out in the gem store has been town clothing, right? And we've talked about that a lot on the show and how we think that there's room for improvement on how town clothing is used. So it's a big deal because it's just taken them so long to actually put in another combat set for players to buy on the gem store. So yeah, it's cool.
Now we actually stole some screenshots from Dolphy. Now, keep in mind that you guys can dye these armors however you want. So the color scheme does not mean anything here. But I don't know. Tell me what you guys think of some of these. They look pretty cool. Very steampunky, you know, piratey. I'd be excited to wear that. Goggles and everything. Just give me steampunk goggles and I'm in. Almost every single one of these guys has one form or another of steampunk goggles.
Yeah. The light and medium armor is fine. They look nice. But as soon as you get to the heavy armor, you could go ahead and stroll to that one. That one it looks bad. I don't know. In my opinion, I just do not like it. I don't like it at
chunks
all.
of round metal.
Some of them look okay. It depends on what race. I don't see that one. I hate.
What is that?
I'm a Norn, and that's what I would look like in my heavy armor Aetherblade set. And no, I just can't wear that. It's not good.
The poor guy who designed it, we're just sitting here ripping on it.
No, but, I mean, you put the same armor set on a different race, and it doesn't look as bad. And of course, you can change the dye color, so you know it's not necessarily your.
Is that a happy face on that guy's chest?
Doesn't
that look like a little happy face thing?
Yeah, it does.
This thing right here?
I think those are gears.
Yeah.
No, right there. Yeah, it looks like a little happy face.
Now,
you need to keep up your pieces of flair.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but wasn't one of the many reasons that you guys thought we were getting so many town clothes because it was so much harder for ArenaNet to make all the combinations of armor needed for all of the races?
Yeah, I've said that before. I think that's part of the issue is, you know, if they're going to come out with a new set on the Gem Store, they can't just come out with a heavy armor set, right? Because then medium and light people are going to just feel like totally gypped. So they put out town clothes because they just basically have to make it fit every, you know, race and gender, and that's it. But when you add, you know, in the fact that you have to do heavy, light, and medium, that's 3 times the work. And I just think that the art assets is one of the slowest things that, you know, slows down the development of these things. So I hope that they've figured out a way to streamline this, or you know, get some more artists on board to help, you know, with this, because that's what people want. People want more combat armor skins, not only on the Gem Store, but for doing things like a new dungeon and different things like that. So they did, you know, Colin Johansson has said that in July they're going to make some statements about a whole reward vamp across the whole game. So, you know, maybe this is part of it, I'm not sure, but I can't wait to hear about what their plans are for rewarding people in all aspects of the game in different ways.
But it turns out that ArenaNet actually might have found a solution to that problem, and unfortunately I think it kind of involves screwing over the Char and Asura. These 2 races pretty much aren't, they're the only ones who are getting 1 set of armor for both sexes. So, real quick, you guys saw the previous ones. Let's take a look at these ones. Char. Love the color scheme, by the way.
Again, you can change the color scheme.
No, that's it. Char don't get to change their color scheme. You heard it here. You got to have pink and blue armor. No, I'm kidding. And Asura. Top notch here. So, I don't know. The armor itself seems pretty cool, but what do you guys think about the idea of 1 set for both sexes? And I don't think it would leave as bad of a taste in people's mouths if it was across the board. But these are 2 races that are kind of getting the short end of the stick here. Don't you guys agree?
I mean, all right, for Azura and Char, the females and the males kind of, the only thing that's different is the face, really. There's no features that really poke out like male and female and the humanoids. All right, yeah, I'm trying to say it nicely. All right, so that, you know,
wait,
it's okay.
Oh no, wait, nothing there.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Features poking out.
Is that a boy or girl, Azura, right there? Is that a boy or girl? You don't even know. I don't even know. Do you know?
We taking bets? We taking bets here? Hedging bets? Those lips look female.
Male, female.
That's why there's no female versus male version. That is your answer.
Yeah.
Why are they going to waste art time on that? You know, there's.
Yeah.
So, I don't play either of those races. I haven't seen a lot of. I don't know. Is there a lot of negative feedback on that? I haven't heard anything. I don't know. There probably is, because people complain about everything.
I mean, the source are so small, though. So small. Like, I mean, could you tell the difference if they change it from male or female?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, not really.
Probably not. Probably not.
You don't really get to see the detail on the Asura gear, anyways. It's kind of a bummer. Like I don't think I'd really drop real money on getting a gear set for like my Asuras.
Off subject, Grouch. Why do a lot of PvPers play Azuras?
It's because it's harder to see their character animations, and it's easier to get abilities off. It's hard. There's not as much like it's not as telegraphed as like a Norn is huge, right? And so you can really easily see what they're doing. But an Asura is so small that you can kind of it's easier to do things like easier to get a heal off, for example.
Gotcha.
It's all about the animations.
Unless you're a big Norn and then you make them a Mesmer, and then you could just fill the screen with Mesmers.
You can hide all the small people.
Yeah.
I got an idea for ArenaNet. If ArenaNet wants to make some interesting armor for, you know, different sexes, they should head on over to Shutterstock, our awesome partner. If you guys head on over to Shutterstock.com.
Nice segue, man. Well
Dude,
played. Gary's proud.
I gotta try and make these segues work. I mean, come on. How awesome would this be as a Norn? Or not a Norn, a Char. Come on. You can't beat that. That is top notch. Now
I'd spend a lot of gems. I'd spend gems on that.
all they'd have to do is head on over to Shutterstock.com, where they can just really super easy come up here to where it says keywords. All I did was type in armor. Boom. Right there. That easy. Click on it. You buy it. And we're giving you 30% off right now if you guys use the promo code Gamebreaker6. I'll get that banner out of your way so you can... out of your way so you can see the whole thing, even though there's nothing under there. Shutterstock.com, they're an amazing partner that we've got, and we are so happy to have them on as a sponsor. So please go check them out. Support them, and you can support us too. All right, so let's move on here. And not that one, I want that one. Moving into the non-Sky Pirate related stuff. So World vs. World front, as Chris likes to dash my hopes, we aren't getting airship battles. Fine. But let's see here. On the World vs. World front, Mortar Mastery has been added. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the current state of World vs. World abilities, Josh? Do you think there's anything to get excited about? You say you don't currently shoutcast them.
Well, oh, man, that's a good question, and I honestly have no idea. Just because I like to kill people doesn't mean I do it in World v. World. I don't know anything about, like, I've spent maybe 2 hours in World v. World. No, I can't stress how... I just can't express enough. Like, I really don't know anything about the game outside of my own little habitat. Like, it's really sad. I almost got in a dungeon group the other day, and I was gonna try to learn, but I ended up PvPing instead. But I'm working on it, guys. I promise. Eventually, I will be like a insightful, helpful guest on this show.
We've got to exchange in-game character names, and then we'll do like a day at the office in each other's offices. You take me into PvP, and I'll do a dungeon with you.
Sounds good.
So Matt's more of our World versus World guy, right?
Oh. Yeah.
you can just tell by the faces on everybody when we throw to them. They're just like, I play so much World vs. World.
Well, I do play a bit of World vs. World. That's usually what I do when there's no events going on right now, because you know that kind of happens. You know, after you finish everything, kind of need something else to do, either PvP or World v. World. And I do toss into World v. World, and I think this is pretty good. I mean, the stats are so small. Like, it's like you have to really level up so much in order to level up that like that mastery or any of the masteries for it to make a big of a difference, really. So I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know if this would like change the game. Like, oh my gosh, mortar mastery. We're going in there and we're gonna use mortars. No, I don't think it's like that though. It's not blowing up.
Well, I guess big news then on the quality of life of the game is that AoE looting is being actually integrated to the game. Now, what about this? Is this something that you guys feel that has been missing and you're happy to finally have integrated into the game?
Yeah. Yes, and yes. This is amazing.
Emphatically, yes.
My F key will get some rest once I break my natural habit to spam it as I run through tons of creatures, because now you don't need to. Now it's a great addition to the game. It makes things a lot easier.
And it's just, it's so much better. Why Why did we not have AoE looting from the very start of the inception of MMOs? Come on. Should have been around. Now let's see. Before you guys played with AoE looting, you obviously you didn't realize how good it was, but it almost seems you need it. You just absolutely need it. So custom arenas now also are out of beta, and they are publicly available in the gem store for 1,600 gems. That's 30 days worth of time. After that, anyone who uses the arena can add days, 5 for 150 gems, or 200 for 480 gems.
20.
Obviously, or 20, yes, sorry, 20 for 480 gems. That's good news, I think, for everyone, and they can use this feature now and just all around good. But what do you guys think about the price points here? Do these sound reasonable? Do these sound fair? I don't know. What do you, Richie? What do you think?
That's how you, Richie. You got this.
That sounds pricey to me. I don't know.
I definitely should toss it to Grouch, but like for a guy in PvE mostly and World v World, it's a little bit high, but I guess it all depends on the person. You know, it's for me if I was a PvP all the time, and I would love to make my own games and stuff like that. Definitely, that would be good, especially if I was a shoutcaster. You know, but yeah, go ahead.
So
Grouch.
then, Josh, is this really gonna be quality of life for you here? Is this gonna increase the enjoyment you get out of it?
For me, not necessarily. No, so a lot of organizations like Curse, for example, we've already had custom arenas since they were implemented. And all the shoutcasters as well, we also get arenas. We were part of the beta, obviously, so we could throw together scrims and tournaments and whatnot. So it's not changing anything for me specifically. I think the price point seems prohibitive for like the individual purchasing these arenas, but that's not the point. I don't think. I think you're supposed to band together kind of with your teams and whatnot, your guilds, I guess, and purchasing them kind of collectively. Once you get the initial purchase, anyone can donate time to that server. And the server costs it's $20. It's $20 to actually buy the server, but the time you add to the arena is much, much cheaper. But I think the point is that there's a limited number of PvPers out there. We can't have a bazillion of these rooms going on anyways, and you'll actually see that even right now, most people are still in hot joins. People don't want to join the custom servers because they don't really know what's going on because a lot of the rule sets are changed. And you go in there and sometimes you're infringing on someone else's like duels or whatnot. So I think a lot of people are actually kind of shying away from joining those. I don't know. It hasn't changed life much, I would say. Scrims it's better for scrims. It's better for people wanting to do some dueling because there hasn't been that dueling feature, obviously. I would still encourage people to buy it. Obviously, any money we can get into PvP is good. It's going to incentivize them to build features for that part of the game. But I don't think much has changed, to be honest. It kind of felt like they've been out for a long time just because a lot of people do have access to them already.
Well, I mean, at the very least, Josh, I guess you could always just beg your friends for some free stuff on your birthday, right?
There you go, man. Well, I mean, you can transfer. PvPers aren't known for having a lot of money, right? Because we can't get gold. But if you do decide to put gems into the game, you can convert those back into gold. You can send that gold to another friend. They can convert back into gems. So you guys can actually band together and purchase an arena collectively if you like. So it shouldn't be only $20 on one guy if it's for one team.
No, and I think you're right in that having it a little bit harder to kind of do that initial buy-in does make it so that you just don't clutter that. I mean, if they sold that for $5, then why wouldn't everybody just have a custom arena that would never get used and just clog everything up, So I think that's a good point. So, yeah, and you're right. The actual rental fee is pretty darn cheap, once you got that initial investment in there. So you've swayed me. I don't think it's too expensive now.
So, all right, the real meat. Go ahead.
No, I was just huzzah. Okay, moving on. Don't put the camera on me. Let's go back to you. There we go.
Moving on. The real meat of this patch, obviously, aside from the Sky Pirates, were profession changes that were just across the board. So I think can go into mass detail about all of these, but most of the class changes. First off, this is the most class changes that we've seen across the board. Correct?
I would say this is the biggest balance patch we've seen in the game so far. Probably one of the most controversial as well. Well, maybe not the most controversial, but it's up there, man. It's up there in terms of it's an interesting patch. I don't know. I don't want to be too down on it.
Well, all right. So then, Yeah, like there's something
bad?
going. There's something underlined going on here.
Our necromancer overlords have arrived.
Oh
Is
yes.
all I wanna
Oh
say.
yes. Oh yes.
It
I was
is-
trying out my necro just today, and I was wow. I could take out like I struggle on some of these level 80 Karka sometimes with my guardian because it's more of a support build that I have on. Once I put on my necro, I can just wipe out anything. But I could just like put torment on him and it just follows me and just dies. But I'm pretty sure in PvP. Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
And
They're,
Josh, did they go from one of the lower represented to suddenly being something that you really want to do in PvP?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I was duo queuing last night quite a bit, and a lot of people in chat would be like, "Oh, you guys have 3 necros, GG, you have the necro advantage." Like, basically, it's not that bad. Like, they're beatable, but they're really strong. A lot of people are comparing them to when Mesmer had the triple, or they give you 3 might anytime you would shatter. People are comparing it to that in terms of strength, and that got nerfed really quickly. For the record, that got nerfed back down to 1 really fast.
So,
necros weren't bad before, though. I don't know.
real quick though, how does torment work? Because this was kind of the new condition. Because it basically has an extra effect, or is it just pure damage?
So what it is that once you put torment on somebody, it acts as a bleed, so it does damage over time. So it's 75% of the damage of bleed. And then when the character who has torment on it moves, it does double damage. So that's torment. So if you put it on a character and you move back, there's no way the character can move towards you unless he, of course, takes away torment by some skill that he has, whether it be a guardian or somebody else.
So how many classes have access to this ability? It sounds like an incredibly powerful ability.
Necros, mesmers, and thieves.
Jeez.
Necros are the craziest because they have it on Death Shroud, which is you always use Death Shroud. With the mesmers and the thieves, they have it on 1 skill, so it's not as of a big deal as the necro is, because necro Death Shroud is you gets it on Death Shroud, so it's so easy just to pop in, do it to them, and boom, extra damage right there and there.
Now, additionally, blindness has also been fixed so that you can no longer remove it while attacking, while being out of range of the target. Now, this was kind of a nasty bug. Do you know, if that is going to be guaranteed to be guaranteed to happen, or was that just a rare occurrence?
So I'll speak to this. This is actually a really big change. So yeah, from launch, if you got blindness on you, you could just swing your sword in the air and it would clear blindness, and that way you could move, or you're the blind, and you could just go on to doing whatever you're doing. Well, now, for example, if you're like a warrior and you get a blind on you and you can't connect with whoever you're attacking, like if you can't bull's rush, or you can't do anything until that blind runs out. So you kind of are really stuck in a bad position. Mesmer having blindness on them is really tough as well, because they will miss all their abilities because they don't have any range attacks. It's actually a really controversial change. I'm really surprised we didn't hear about it, like when we heard about weakness. The weakness change was good, but the blind thing it's actually really big, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of feedback on the forums the past day or two about that. And Warrior specifically, being one of the ones that seems to be affected the biggest on it. Just, not be, I guess on the one token, just being able to swing once kind of made blindness a condition that you didn't really think too much about, kind of like, weakness was before this change. But it's going to be interesting to see how they react to it, because it's technically fixed and now, I guess, working as intended. But I don't know if the feedback is going to let this one stand, or they're going to do something else with it or not.
Now,
overall, this. Oh, go ahead, man. You're the boss.
No, absolutely. Go.
I was gonna say this patch is up and down. Some of these classes might be, like the Necromancer being in a really good spot, and they do deserve it. People kind of collectively thought Necromancer was bad for a long time, so we can give Necromancers their time on the throne. But the patch overall, I'm happy with it, just because it does give, I guess, a shift in the way the game is played right now. A lot of new builds are coming in. A lot of changes. They're trying to bring back Staff Elementalists. A lot of buffs there. A lot of buffs off the board, or around the board rather. So it's just good to see.
What about Rangers? What happened to Rangers? Like, I hear people really getting irritated. We got nerfed and blah blah blah.
Yeah, well, I can only speak to PvP specifically, but we had the Beastmaster build. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that build. It's super tanky, a lot of evades, and your pet does a bazillion damage, and you also do Connie damage as well. So these rangers would really just let your pet do all the they let their pet do all the work rather, while they kind of just dodged around, lay out a little bit of conditions. They could last for forever, and they could like 1v2 pretty easily. So they toned down the pet damage. I think they also toned down the leash range. Before you could sit at a side node on, say, like Fofire, send your pet in on the door on the keep and take the door down when you weren't even there. You're across the map. You can send your pet in from side nodes, send it in back into mid. I only played for a little bit last night, so I haven't played the patch that much, but I believe they shortened the leash range on the pets, which I think is a good change, because they do a lot of damage, and something it's like having a 6-man on your team. They're kind of a dumb 6 guy. Like, they don't do a lot, but they do good damage, and they're annoying.
Now, real quick,
they're annoying.
We'll throw that out there.
Real quick though, obviously there's so many class changes here to talk about, but let's just focus on the ones that stick out most for you guys and your class. The top changes of note. Richie, go.
You know what? The build that I play on the Warrior, it's a Shout Hammer build, and it's PvE only. It hasn't really been affected too much, but I'm looking at possibly other builds. The biggest thing I think, at least that piqued my interest, was Cleansing Ire. It's a new trait that allows you to gain adrenaline when you're hit, and then as you use adrenaline, you actually remove conditions. And what's interesting about that for me is I use the Shout build, where my shouts heal and remove conditions for me and my allies, but it requires a very specific, rune choice, and to actually work. And it's one way to get warriors some condition removal. But this is giving me another way to maybe build my character that won't be so, gear dependent and stuff like that. Maybe I can remove, conditions using just my adrenaline, my burst ability. And so I'm interested in maybe seeing how I can construct a build for PvP around that. We'll see if it works or not.
What about you, Matt?
For me, I play a Guardian mostly, and I looked at the patch for Guardians, and it's okay. I know there's a lot of good changes. The one that stuck out the most was the Zealous Blade. They now took a tier 3 trait and put it with a tier 2 trait and stuck it together, which gives us heals and 10% damage to our greatsword. Well, it does lifesteal when you attack with the greatsword. So I thought that was cool, because this patch is supposed to encourage build diversity, and really the Guardians, it's hard to go full into 30 into power. Like, you just don't see those builds. At least with me, I haven't seen much. I'm looking for a damage Guardian build, and it's just like, you might as well just play like another class if you want to go for if you want to go for damage with this type of class. Yeah.
How about you, Josh?
So I play Engineer. There's a lot of good changes. So they buffed Rifle quite a bit. They took a lot of the aftercast off, so like Rocket Jump is actually really smooth now. Or Jump Shot, rather. Sorry, Jump Shot's a lot smoother now. Using Rifle's a lot more viable. They took Elixir... Are we talking about the good things or just the bad things? Sorry.
Anything. Just changes.
Anything? Okay.
Highlighting the changes that stood out to you.
All right. Elixir R got changed. There's no stun break on it anymore. It's still really good for the res utility from the toolkit ability, but the nail in the coffin for me, man, was the fact that they put a cast time on the endurance refill. So they removed this. It used to be an instant cast ability on the stun break and endurance refill. They nerfed the stun off, and then they added cast time to it. And it's a half second, so it's pretty substantial. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about that one. But like I said, the rifle changes were really good. They also fixed the exploit for Engineer using their heals underwater and then above land and getting 2 heals off within a short amount of time. So actually, as much as I liked that, it's really good that it got fixed. It makes Temple a much more viable map just because you won't have as many exploits, so to speak.
Now, it seemed like, improving build diversity was a huge focus of a lot of the changes that were coming in this patch. So would you guys say that they were successful across the board in terms of PvE and PvP?
For my class, no. I don't think so. There's no way people are going to put like 30 points into like power and other things other than toughness and vitality for the Guardian, I think. I don't think it really changes much for me. At least, I don't know. I got to mess around with it a little bit more. This patch just came out yesterday, but yeah, that's my opinion.
I have one thing I want to mention, actually. They changed MOA. Oh my goodness, MOA does so much damage now. When you get mowed by a Mesmer, they're elite. A guy mowed me yesterday, my first time getting mowed since the patch. I destroyed him. I absolutely wrecked him as a bird. It was hilarious. It was absolutely amazing.
They buffed the damage that the MOA does?
They like changed a lot of the abilities and like how long it takes to cast them. They changed the movement on them. And this Mesmer mowed me, and I just got in his face and ripped him a new one, dude. It was amazing. Like, I was so surprised.
Is that a good change because how many people use MOAs in PvP?
It is. Like, before, like, you're so vulnerable when you get mowed, and it's 10 seconds of you just running around like, literally as a chicken. Like, oh my god, please don't kill me. And now, like, you'd be like, mow me, bro, I'm coming at you. And you just get in their face, man. It's awesome.
I'm a MOA now, and I'm pissed.
Oh, gosh.
That's cool.
All right, so additionally here, big news that was coming up on the esports front this week. The Electronic Sports League, also known as the ESL, is holding a Guild Wars 2 tournament on the 30th of June to check out the interest of the community in the game. Now, ESL is pretty a big name in esports, aren't they? I mean, you know, we talked about this just on After Dark. They've got League of Legends, they've got StarCraft 2. And if Guild Wars can step into that territory, that's stepping up into the big leagues. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, you go, Grouse. No, when I saw
waiting,
this,
man.
I was like,
you got it. No, we take turns. This is the show, man. Let's all talk. Let's all do it.
Well, yeah, I just when I saw that, I was like, I never thought that it could go there, man. I don't know. Once they reached spectator mode, I guess I thought it all would come at once. It's like, oh, they're going straight to esports, right? It was like, I don't know. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. And then it like slowly, like you were talking about this, the like one show ago. No, you were only been on here once. And you were saying that the views, because I've watched a lot of the PvP tournaments, and you saw like some of the views were like at like 4,000, and then some went to like 2,000. Some of them were really, really low in the 100 range. And for a big game to be in the esports, it has to be a lot more than that, right? Something very consistent views on Twitch. So hopefully this will get more people interested in PvP. What do you think?
That's my hope, man. Like, so I look at it like this. When we first got custom arenas and spectator came out, like there was a huge, like, so much hype. Like, it was awesome. Like, those first tournaments we had were great. We had Kings of Beta, we had both the Curse tournaments, we had the MMORPG Invitational. Really great tournaments. Like, all pulled over 3K. The Curse ones hit over 4K. Good times. But since then, because we haven't had that really many good, big tournaments, like with cash pools, or cash prizes, or anyways, the interest is slowly waning. It's kind of slowly going down. We're not picking up as many viewers on the weekends. Like, the hype's just kind of dying down. So having ESL come in is going to do a lot. It's going to do really well and kind of bringing the hype back, I guess. It's unfortunate that we have to rely on the hype right now, but you know, any interest in the game right now is good. I do have one problem with ESL, kind of, though. They only announced it 1 week in advance. I think they would have done really well to give us like 2 weeks out. The same day, I think even during the same time frame, the TP Invitational is doing its playoffs. So the final games of the TP Invitational will be going on at the same time as ESL, which is also an EU tournament. So I'm not sure if those are going to overlap or what teams are going to do, which one are they going to pick to play for. I think just coming in, you know, completely fresh, never playing the game before, and being an organization, having 1 week to organize everything is just a huge, huge obstacle. And I think they could have done well by giving themselves a little bit more time to do it. Just to make sure it's done well.
I wanted to ask you, because there's 16 teams that can enter this tournament. How do they know which teams are actually good or not? Does it matter? I mean, I guess when it comes down to Guild Wars 2, any team that's willing to sign up, you know, they're just going to take them, right? But how do they, once this gets to a bigger sport, how do they pick which teams gets into that 16 slots?
It's really subjective right now, man. Like when we did the first Curse tournaments, we only picked 8 teams, and we had, amazingly enough, actually, I was really excited. We had, in some tournaments, we had like 25 teams apply. For the EU, we had 25 teams apply, if not more, and we unfortunately had to cut it down to 8, and it was very subjective. It's unfortunate, but I think ESL is getting in touch with some players and some teams who know what's going on. I know they're talking to Blue. I know they're talking to some other guys, and so hopefully they get like 8 good teams out there. We really need like a strong showing for this tournament. It needs to be a strong showing, because if ESL is going to bring in a whole new, I guess, audience, you know, because people who just like ESL and what they do, First time exposure to Guild Wars 2, we want to make sure it's a good tournament. It's not shutouts. It's not like people going 2-0 where they win every game by 400 points. That's not a good show. We want people to see the game. They want. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you talk about having a good show. Obviously, I think that even goes beyond just the players. It also falls in line with shoutcasters. The shoutcasters bring a lot of entertainment to the game for the observer. So, is there any word on maybe who the shoutcasters might be?
I think Blue said he was working on it. I told him right away, man. I was like, you have a lot of weight on your shoulders. Like, you really need to step up your game for this. Like, he's doing really well and stuff, but like, if this is like ESL's shot at coming into the game and Guild Wars 2's chance to impress, like, there's a lot of weight on his shoulders. And whoever he gets as the second, like, it's on them, man. They need to do a good job. So I'm confident that Blue's going to do a good job, and I'm really excited for this weekend.
You're my boy, Blue.
You're my boy, Blue.
You have to apply to be the second? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think everyone had to. Well, I think basically on the post that they had, like, everyone just kind of sent in like I would like to participate kind of thing, and I guess that's how it works. I don't know. So they're kind of just like getting anyone, I guess. I don't really know.
Did you sign up?
I did not.
Why?
I contacted ESL way back in the day, and they sent me an email as a reply to that, like a month later. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't really care, man. Like I don't really vibe for tournaments. Like I usually just get invited to things, so it was a little weird.
All right.
I like I said though, I think Blue's gonna do a really good job.
And this is coming this Sunday, right?
This Sunday, the 30th. And again, I think it's at 19 CEST.
I don't know when that is, but okay.
Either do I. It's on the post.
19 Cest.
19 Cest. Looking at the post. Yeah. Yep. There we go. 19 Cest. Whatever that is.
Official time right there. That just needs to be.
It sounds dirty. I feel gross when I say it.
It really does. 19 Cest. Sounds awful. We're going to move on from that. And to do that, I guess we're going to move into Audible, our awesome partner over at with Audible. Audible.com is an amazing Amazon company that offers you guys audiobooks. And if you guys go sign up right now, you guys will not only get a free free 30-day trial, but you'll also get a free audiobook. So it's a great deal. Time to go sign up. You guys can do so by heading over to audible.com/Gamebreaker. You guys can check out awesome. If you guys haven't, I don't know, the world we live in, it just inundates us with so much to do. The more people grow older, the less time that they have to get things done. When do you find time to read? If not when you're going to bed, why not while you're driving to work? Why not when you have time to listen to a podcast? Maybe you're working and you can just turn on an audiobook and work while you're listening to a book. It's a great way to multitask, a great way to expand your mind, and Audible lets you do that with so much power. They've got access to so many different books, fantasy or otherwise, a bunch of gaming-related books, Lord of the Rings, World of Warcraft, just so many awesome books that you guys should definitely go check out. So if you haven't checked out Audible yet by this point, I know you've heard us say it a lot, but you should definitely go do it. They're an amazing sponsor, and we're glad to have them on board. All right, moving on here. Colin Johansson explained how dungeons were going to be updated going forward. He had this to say: dungeons will be part of this strategy. Living World teams will be doing work on our permanent dungeons rather than them being ignored. The types of things that you're asking for will be rolled into Living World updates to give a reason for them happening in the world. It simply means we're going to be doing more of exactly what you're asking for here in this thread, but under the context of this isn't a thread, this is a quote card. Doesn't make any sense. But under the context of this story of why it happens in the world, rather than just make it magically have it appear as it happened with AC. So we kind of know all the dungeons in Guild Wars 2 need a little bit of work, but I gotta say, it's an interesting way for them to integrate an update, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, they revamped Ascalonian Catacombs a couple months ago, and it was just a poof. It's updated and things are different, and I think the dungeon is better for it. But I think that they've stopped and said, you know what, we're not just going to snap our fingers and update all of these dungeons. Let's do it through the story. So they're going to have I guess, living story arcs that actually go through and touch these dungeons. And when the living story touches these dungeons, they will be changed from that point going forward, hopefully with new mechanics and make them more fun and updated. So rather than them just doing it as just a because and hey, go run that dungeon now because we updated it, they'll actually have a story reason for it. So I think that's pretty cool.
On the other hand, though, do any of you guys have concerns that because of this, the dungeon updates are going to kind of be rolled out a little bit more slowly?
Absolutely. That's absolutely the fear. Is, you know, because I mean it's more work for them to do that, right? They have to, you know, from just the narrative design aspect of it, right? They have to have somebody think about, okay, what is going to be happening in that part of the world? What characters do we want to introduce? Let's do voiceover work. Okay, we need new in-game character models for that. You know, it's a lot more work actually putting a story into these changes. And so yeah, so yes, I think that's a better approach than just snapping your fingers, but it also means it's going to take longer, which is kind of sucky.
Is there any way to counteract that?
No, I don't think so. I think you can go for the quicker approach, or you can do the approach that, you know, makes more sense from a story perspective. But I don't think you can not make it, you know, more expensive from a resource point of view if you're actually going to be doing more work to do it. So it is a concern, but I think at the end of the day, if they are going to be, you know, get around to it and go through and back and touch all these dungeons, that in the long run, the game will be better because of it.
Because, I mean, it's not like any one story is really going to kind of work to update more than one or two dungeons at all. You know, Sky Pirates, for example, it doesn't necessarily work with the context of one dungeon, or it does work within the context of one dungeon, but it's not going to, you know, Ascalon Catacombs. What are they going to do with Sky Pirates there that would really work within the story?
Right. It would be kind of lame if they just said, all right, we're going to have one living story arc, and that updates all the dungeons. Yeah, I mean, so they can't cheese it either. So I think that's part of the reason why it'll be slower. If they were just going to do the snap the finger approach, right, they can say, hey, July patch, we are updating, you know, this dungeon and this dungeon. So two dungeons just get a makeover, and that's part of the patch notes. That would go over pretty well with the community, right? They would be like, wow, they updated two dungeons this patch. But they're going to go for more of the story approach, and I do think that the downside of that, we've already discussed it, is going to be it takes longer. So, you know, you just got to, this is the decision they're going with, and whether you like that or not. I think it's going to be more engaging, and, you know, because I ran the new Ascalonian Catacombs, I think twice. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they updated it. Cool. It's now updated. But maybe having it more thematically tied into what's going on in the game, well, you know, and maybe with this reward revamp that we keep hearing about, maybe they'll entice me to play the new revamped dungeons more than twice.
All right, let's move on to some viewer questions and see how this goes. Let's see. Matthew Wynn wanted to know, these patch notes contain so many aftercast delay and internal cooldown changes, but this information is not listed anywhere in game. How can ArenaNet make this information visible to players without making it overwhelming? Note that Guild Wars 1 had short and long skill descriptions.
Well, I think, okay, adding internal cooldown to, like, especially like the trades is probably a good move. However, the aftercast stuff is more like animation based. Like, you really don't need to see that info, I don't think. It's just not pertinent. Like, they're kind of just cleaning up how the animations look. Like, if for anyone who remembers, like, jump shot used to jump, a little delay at the beginning, then you would, right before you landed, it would kind of lag for a second, and then you would land. And now it's much more fluid. So I think it's just kind of like animation improvements rather than like anything that actually has to do with the skill. Internal cooldown, though, like, that should definitely be a part of like the traits. And a lot of them you do see, though.
Josh or Matt, you guys got any thoughts of what they could do for this?
No. Unless they want to crowd the screen with more text, which I wouldn't mind actually, more text, because that was one of the issues I had from before. Is like how much does healing a power affect this, and how much does this affect that? You know, that kind of was like, oh, all right. So I don't know if this will actually be good. It says, for instance, depending on how many buffs you have, boons you have, you do more damage, right? For the Guardian, I don't know how much more damage that is, you know. So yeah, I could definitely, something needs to be done, but I don't know. No idea how they will put it in other than just to toss in the text.
All right, next up, Ethan Scott Bard wants to know, given that the pricing model of Guild Wars is built for players to come, to leave, and then to come back to the game, at what point should ArenaNet focus on large content versus big story or big story patch to pull back in idle players versus the current model of smaller events and living story? Richie, what do you think?
Well, I'm not sure I agree that the pricing model is built to have players come back, leave, and come back to the game.
No, that's
sure
exactly what they wanted. That was their intent from day one.
They're designed from day out. They sat down in the room and said, we want a game that forces people to go away and then come back. No,
well, it's not quite that. I mean, obviously, having no sub fee makes it so you can come back to the game anytime that you want. I think it's great, to be honest. And like, I guess I'll go first, even though we were talking about you. Anyways, I think that they, like, to bring back the other players, they probably will need a big expansion. I don't, like, personally, like, looking at the events that are coming out, like, they're really cool for players that are sticking around and stuff. People might come back for a little while, but they kind of just wrap up those events and they kind of bail again. But look what happens, like, anyone, like, World of Warcraft, and they come out with an expansion, you see just floods of people come back, flocks. People just fly back into the game, and they play it for a good amount of time, at least until the expansion's depleted.
But does that have does that have the staying power for games outside of World of Warcraft? We see it happen with that because I think so many people have max level characters, but look at Rift. Rift did everything they could to try and push players in with Storm Legion, and I don't think that they wanted to go free to play, but it just didn't bring back the players that they decided that they had to go free to play.
I mean, I've said this many of times before. People are probably just bored of me hearing it, but like, definitely these patches, these small little events, it really gets people to log in like once, like for the people who are like not interested in this type of stuff. I'm not talking about the main audience. The people who are kind of just like, not right now. I want to play my PS3 or something like that. Those guys, they're not really coming back for these patches. You know, I get a lot of comments on my video saying like, yeah, this is not good enough for me. Definitely an expansion would probably be the best thing, because that would get a lot of news like, oh my gosh, Guild Wars 2 is putting a new patch, it's going to be amazing, they're adding guild halls, you know, and spaceship pirates in World v World. I really think with this expansion, they have to update the core of PvE for the PvE guys. There needs to be something more to do there, you know. That's permanent, of course. And I think from that, you can do these little updates, and it would be fine. You're like, oh, okay, I'll stop what I'm doing here in the core PvP and do this little event and just go back to what I'm doing, you know. And that's usually what I did with a lot of MMOs. But in this one, really, I just come on for more of the patches, and in World v World and PvP. That's what I do mostly. I don't really stay in PvE much other than the events.
Richie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think both of them are right in that there's a core audience that is playing the crap out of these updates and loving it, and I'm one of them. I love every week coming in and seeing what's new. But you know, I'm enjoying the game still. There's a lot of people who bought the game and have dropped off, and these patches aren't pulling them back. And so yeah, I think that it will take something big, some big new feature, or even an expansion to pull those older players back into the game on a consistent basis. I do think the Living Story updates, I mean, if you look at the updates we were getting in January and February, and they called them Living Story, and there were like 1 or 2 achievements to do compared to what we've been getting the past few weeks, I mean, this world's different. So they're definitely hitting their stride now, and the development team is they're going nuts. But they definitely need more of a big feature like rating or an expansion to draw new players and old players back.
Yeah.
Richie Procopio, you can follow him right down there at Richie Procopio. Super simple, super easy. You can catch him over on Nexus Talk, as well as right here every week on GuildCast.
And my YouTube channel.
Bogotter. Checked out that YouTube channel. Head on over there. Matt Visual, you can follow him right down there at Matt _ Visual. Sorry. Missed that underscore the first time.
My name.
Oh, what?
Yeah, this is way before I even made the channel. Like, oh, someone has Matt Visual? What's going on here? Who thought of that name but me? But yeah, someone took it. Matt Visual at YouTube.
Yes. Yes. Check that over there, over on YouTube as well. And Josh Davis, you can follow him right down there at Groucheroo.
Oh, man, you spelled it wrong. You had one job, man.
I asked you while I was spelling it. That was exactly what you told. That is exactly what you told me while I was spelling it. Is it
How do
only
you
one
spell
R?
kangaroo? How do you spell kangaroo? Just a question.
You're not going to put me on the spot like that. I'm not going to make fun of myself anymore tonight. You can follow me right down here at Mike Schaffnitz. Be sure to follow me and check out Gamebreaker.tv for all of your television, video, MMO-related shows. You can catch me over on After Dark every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. PDT. It's a live call-in show where you take any question you guys can think about and talk about it with you on the spot. So be sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.